Last time we talked about, we were talking about general guidelines about technical reports. Okay, so we talked about some points. Okay, what makes a good report. We looked at some of the common sections which you normally find in the report. Okay, table of content, title page, abstract, references, so on. Then we talked about some of the things which you have to do in the which you should consider in the report. For example, use of headings, okay, and what notations we should use for the headings, and so on. Okay. Then using the commas, using the hyphens, checking the spellings and grammars. Okay. And the one point which I want to emphasize again, to do all these things which were written in the guidelines, you need what? Tagging and heading and distance, what to put in the appendix and so on and so forth. To do all these things properly, you need what? Time. Okay, these things will take time, so you need to have time in your hand. Okay, if you leave anything till the end, and then you are trying to do it properly, it will never be. Okay, so the first thing you have to keep in mind that start early. Start early. Okay, that's why it's my approach, or it's my style wherever I give a term project. Okay, it has to be submitted at the end, but I do something to do at the start as well. Like I have told you guys to submit the topic and the group and so on. So you get involved. Okay. So this is considered as a very important tip for any report writing, that you have to start early. Don't leave till the end. Okay. Now we will go through some of the main items of the report in more details. Okay. And we'll start with the objectives of the technical report. What are you trying to achieve through this report? Okay. Objectives is something which you are trying to achieve. So once the report is finished, okay, or when you are writing this report and when you are doing the work for this report, when you reach the end, what did you achieve?
Objectives.
Okay. So these are the objectives. Okay, you were doing some work. For that work, you wrote a report. Then, what did you achieve at the end of that work? Those are your objectives. Okay. But we mentioned earlier that all reports are not for projects. There are some reports which are for the client, record of the client, information of the client, getting approval from the client, or from the boss, or whoever it is. So in that case, your objective is what you want from the client. After reading the report, what should the client do? What should the reader do for you? That becomes your objective. Okay? The objective can be what you achieved in the process of the work, or what you want to achieve from the reader. Okay? These are both different types of objectives. Okay, most important thing is, and by the way, this is part of the second task of your term project during the course. Okay, that you have to give an introduction about the topic in the class. So, the most important thing you should think about is what will be my objectives. Okay, you have to write the objectives first. Okay, whether you write it in your own words, you write it in English, you write it in Arabic, write it in Urdu, or whatever language. Okay, it's for your own sake. Okay? In the end, when you put it in the report, it could be something else. You achieve something more or something less. You can modify that. But before you start the work, you should have something in front of you. And I want to achieve this. Clear? Okay. So before starting the work or before writing a report, you should have objectives in front of you. Okay, not in your mind. Okay, in front of you. Anybody has taken senior design? Not yet. Still along with, right? Hopefully. But if you look at the proposal, there is a proposal form. I believe they follow it in all the departments of the college. So there is a proposal form. The proposal form has objectives. So if you propose a topic for your senior design, they will ask you to give your objectives. Okay. So setting the objectives, my point was setting the objective doesn't mean, okay, I know what I'm doing. No, write it. Okay, write it. Even if it is just 2 sentences, even if it is in a different language. Okay, but write it in front of you so you have a clear idea of what you are about to do. Okay, so note them down and use them as a measuring stick. Okay, that whenever I am confused whether I should do this or not, I go back to where? Nothing. Okay, should I do this work or not? Should I include it in the report or not? So you go back to what are your objectives? Okay, I told you in the last topic there are 3 types of contents you may have at your disposal, in your hand. Okay, you may have 3 types of contents with you, and they were all related to the objectives. Anybody remember them? Things or data or information which you have, they can be divided into 3 categories. Anybody remember? One I already mentioned just now. There is one information which is related to what? Objectives. Okay? Then there is another information which could be interesting to the reader. It is relevant to the objectives, not directly related. Not directly related to the objectives, but the reader may have interest about it. Okay? And then there is third type of information which is not related to the objective, but is just interesting for you. You just want to show that I did this and this. So the information in your hand will be filtered. You will filter the information based on your objectives. Okay? If I include this information, or if I work on this information, will I go forward towards my objective, or will I distract from my objectives? Okay? Sometimes, in fact many times, what happens that you ask someone what are you doing, they will say I am writing a report, I am doing this project, I am doing this project, I am very busy. Very, very busy. Okay, and they are busy. You can see that they are spending like 5 hours every day on this job. Okay. In the end, the report is complete, goes to the examiner. It has happened in front of me. Goes to the examiner, goes to the internal or external, and they say you have achieved nothing. Why were you doing this? I had an MSc student. He prepared a report for like 300 pages, and the report was full of data and figures, tables, appendix, statistics, you name it. Okay, I made him work very hard. In the end, the examiner said, what you are showing me, I already know it. Okay. So if the objectives were set properly at the start, then your effort will not be wasted. Okay, you can see what I am trying to achieve, and then you can work according to it. Okay, so when you are setting the objectives, what you should consider? Who you are producing the report for? Okay, the reader. If you go back to the previous topic, again there were 10 points, and the reader was mentioned in at least 2 of them, could be more. Okay, why are you producing the report? So who will read the report, and why he should read your report? What we are presenting in the report, and what information you will cover in the report. Okay, so I am doing it for my boss. I am producing the report because I want to inform him about the market survey I have done. Okay, what information I will cover? I will cover the information regarding the customer feedback. Okay, get an idea? Okay, so the objectives will be according to that. So, couple of bad examples here. The good examples. Anyways, report which was meant to cover the UK. Okay, the UK includes what? Anybody knows?
Yes. Wales.
Okay.
Scotland. Or Northern
Northern, not Bahrain. Sure. Okay, but instead, just that way England and Wales. Okay, so this is a part of UK, but you cannot call it UK. Okay. Resulted in lost opportunities for development and sales in Scotland and Northern Ireland. Okay, because the report did not fulfill the objectives, whoever read the report, they implemented the findings of the report, but those findings were only related to England and Wales. So they ignored, these are two countries, in fact. They ignored two entire countries, okay? So this can happen if you don't follow the objectives. The objective says UK, then you have to check your report, am I covering the scope which is mentioned in the objectives? A report which tried to be both a specification of a machine and the results using a machine left readers in confusion. Okay, so the objectives includes too many things. Okay, we will include the specification of the machine and we will include the use of the machine as well. So in the end, the content of the report will be everything mixed. Nobody will understand. Okay, so in the first example, this example, the objectives say something and the report covers less. Okay, and in this example, we have set the objectives which are not precise. Okay, they are not focused. We are trying to cover too many. So these are bad examples. So make sure. Okay, so the first example tells you that when you set the objectives, once your work is done, check it against the objectives, whether you fulfill the objectives or not. Okay, and the second example tells you that make your objectives very precise. Okay, don't try to cover everything in one report or in one paper. Okay. The objectives of the research or the report must be very clearly stated. Where should I state it? Where should I put the objectives? Huh? Okay, what do we call that chapter? Introduction. Okay, objectives should be in the introduction. Anywhere else I should put the objectives. Do you know anything which comes before introduction? Huh? Should I put the object on the title page? No? Then where? What comes after title?
Table of contents.
Table of content. So, table of content. Should I put the object in table of content? Summary, yes. Summary, abstract, whatever you call it. Normally it has some sort of or some sense of the objectives. Introduction, you can be more detailed about the objectives. In summary, if somehow you can combine all the objectives in one sentence, you lose. Summary is summary. You try to shorten everything. One more point where you can, one more section or chapter where you can insert the objectives is the conclusion. Okay, so when the reader comes towards the conclusion, it will help him to see whether you achieved your objectives or not. Okay, so in order to show our effort, then we can include the objectives in the conclusion as well. Okay, so this is what I was mentioning, okay, that objectives should be written in such a way that when I reach the end of the report, I know whether you have met the objectives or not. Okay, for example, many students derive the objectives of the report to reduce traffic congestion on the roads. We all face traffic jam, right? Traffic jam, congestion, somehow, whatever you call it, right? We all face it. So can you take a senior project and get rid of the traffic jams in your senior project? Can you do that? She's thinking. Keep on thinking. Can you do that? No, right? What we can do? We can design something new which will help to reduce traffic congestion. Right? You cannot reduce traffic congestion. You can design something new. You get the difference. What is your objective? To design. To design. Okay? Who will reduce traffic congestion? If somebody takes your design and implements it, his objective will be to reduce traffic congestion. Get my point? Okay, clear? Huh? So, you know, I'm from civil engineering. So, if I write my objective is to build a 20-story building. Okay? To build a 20-story building. Construct a 20-story building. Then you want what from me? If I say my objective is to construct a 20-story building, you will ask what from me in the end? Huh? What?
Funding.
Funding. I'm a poor guy from Bahrain. If I had funding, would I be here? You know, if I tell you my objective is to construct a 20-story building, when I finish my work, what do you want to see? The building. The building. Because I said what? I will construct a 20-story building. And no one. So you will ask me for what? Where's the building? You finish your work? I said yes. You finish your job? Yes. Where's the building? If I tell you, my objective is to design a 20-story building. Then if you ask me after 6 months, did you finish your job? I said yes. Then you will ask me for what? That is. I will give you a set of drawings and tables and analysis and codes. This is the design of the building. Okay. Then you go to somebody and you ask for something. Okay, clear? Okay. So make your objectives in such a way that the leader knows what you will give him in the end. And when he reaches the end of your report, that thing is what you are giving him. Got it? Okay? So when he reaches the end of the report, when he read the objective, when he reached the end, he knows, okay, task completed, mission accomplished. Okay? Objectives have to be measurable in some sense, even though not necessarily quantitatively. Okay? There is something which we call as quantitative and qualitative. Do you know the difference? Quantitative means what? You can count. Okay, and quality is? Efficiency. Efficiency. Something we can feel. Okay? Cannot count. You can feel. Got it? Okay? So if I take a quiz, then I have numbers. Right? This guy got this much. You got this much, you got this much, and numbers. This is quantitative. Okay? And then we have something which is qualitative. Okay? He looks sleepy, he looks bored. Can I count it? No. Okay, got it? Yes. Objectives can be quantitative or qualitative, both are allowed, there is no problem with that. But there should be something to measure them. Even quality can be measured. Even quality can be measured. So they do student feedback, right? At the end of the course, they will ask them to do student feedback survey. which I don't want to look at. Okay, so on the comments I will do. But they do something like this, right? So they will ask you based from 1 to 10, give a rating to this instructor, to the course, to the outline, and so on. You will do that, right? Okay. So what we are doing is quantitative. You are not giving 10 because you got the number 10. You multiply 2, multiply by 5, and you got 10. It's not like this. This is how you feel. Okay? This is how you feel. So objectives can be quantitative and qualitative, but there should be something to measure. Okay? I mentioned. So quantitative is you took some equipment or material, you put it in the lab, you measured the strength and density and volume. You get numbers. Okay? Then you have another thing which is, for example, client satisfaction. Okay, so your objective can be related to client satisfaction. There's no problem. People do survey about client satisfaction. Okay, so it can be quantitative, it can be qualitative, but there should be something to measure it. In the end, you have to show that you have achieved it. Okay, so even if it is something like satisfaction, okay, I did a survey during the project, and this is my satisfaction level. This is the rating, ranking, whatever. Okay, so should be something which can be measured. Okay. Yeah. In some cases, the objectives can be a hypothesis. What is the hypothesis? It can be a claim. Hypothesis is a claim, a theory. Okay? It can be a claim or a theory, which you are trying to prove through your work. Okay? So you are trying to prove that instead of this material, if you use this material, it is more environmental friendly, or it is stronger, or it is more durable, and so on. So it's a claim, okay, and your objective is to fulfill that claim, or to check that claim, okay, then, okay. So we call it a hypothesis. So sometimes objectives can be, instead of a statement, it can be a claim, okay, that concrete is stronger than wood and so on. It can be a claim like this. Yeah. So the rest of the project, if you are making a claim, then the rest of the project is to prove the claim. Okay, like I said. So you may have to do some testing, you may have to do some survey, but it is always about the claim, the hypothesis which you are making. Okay. Another approach is to develop the whatever. Another approach is to develop the objectives in the form of questions. Okay, instead of a statement, it can be a question. Okay, for example, what will give a good example? It's not coming on. Right. So, for example, is walking good for your health? For example, it's a question. Okay, or is eating fast food bad for your health? Something like this. So it's a question. Okay, so objectives can be in the form of questions as well, and then your report is about answering those questions. Okay, for example, like we had COVID, right? So in COVID, for example, they were using different medicines, different vaccines. Okay. So the claim or the question can be, was vaccine XX more effective on COVID patients than the other? Okay. One of the claims can be there. One of the questions can be there. Okay. Objectives can be statements. They can be hypothesis, meaning a claim or a statement, or they can be in the form of a question. Okay. In the end, your report will follow the objectives. If it's a claim, you are trying to prove the claim. If it is a question, you are trying to answer the question, and so on. Okay. In each case, the objective should be a statement of measurable objectives, or this or this. Okay. So you have three possible options. One, don't mix and match. Okay, objective number 1, statement. Objective number 2, question. Objective number 3, claim. This will confuse them. Okay, so use one of the approaches. Either use statements or questions or hypothesis. Okay, don't use all 3 of them or 2 of them. Use one approach. Clear? Okay, and normally objectives are more than one. Keep this in mind. Okay, one objective allowed, but it doesn't look good. Okay, objectives are normally between 3 and 5. So if you feel I can make one statement, but the rest of the 2 or 3 will be questions, that means that even that one statement is doubtful. Remove it. Okay, convert this into question as well. Okay, so keep in mind that objectives are between 3 and 5. So if you can do something with 3 or 5 things, then make it into objectives. Okay, as with any project, it is important to clearly identify the bounds and scope of the research. I already gave you an example of the UK. Okay, the scope of work was what? The entire UK. Okay, so you have to keep in mind that the objectives should show the scope and bounds of the research, how much you will cover. Okay, will you cover only Bahrain, you will cover only one country or one city or one material, only one test, only one product, or what? How will you decide about the scope of your work? What are the things that can affect the scope of your work? Tell me. If I ask my boss, he will say cover as much as you can. That was right. Cover that bad word. Where you will decide I will stop here. How will you say? The clients, the boss, okay, they are like vampires. Okay, they want as much blood as you can give. Okay, so they will never say stop. If you can give more, no problem. Okay, they are always hungry. So where will you say now stop? I cannot do more. How will you decide?
Maybe the time they give you.
The time is a limitation. Okay, they say perform 10 tests on this material. Those 10 tests will take 6 months. He's only giving you 1 month. Cannot. Okay, so you have to set the scope which can be completed in 1 month. What else? Money. Some people say time is money, right? Yeah, time is money. So there could be financial constraints as well. Again, take the same example. They are asking you to perform 10 tests. For 10 tests, you need material of 2 kg. That 2 kg will cost, let's say, 10,000 BD, and you only have 5,000 BD, so you will only get that much material. Okay, so another constraint. And other things you have to keep in mind is your discipline and application area. You are engineers, right? You are engineer. So the client says, okay, give me the budget analysis or the economic analysis, or do the marketing campaign for me as well. It's out of your area, out of your discipline. Okay. So all these things will help you or should be considered when you are setting up the scope of your work. Okay. The budget, the time, and area of specialization. Okay, some of the common errors in the objectives are that strategies to achieve the objective, the motivation for the objective are mixed with the description of the objectives themselves. Okay, objectives are different, methodology is different. Objectives are different, method is different. Okay, so my objective can be to invent a new material for cars, let's say, or to invent a new fuel for cars. It's an objective. How will I invent the fuel? What tests will I perform on the fuel? These are not objectives. Okay? So sometimes people write objectives, they are 2 pages long. Why? Because they are putting too many details in. Okay? I'm inventing something new. That new thing will have this color, this texture, this. Okay, so this is not something. So this is not part of the objectives. The details are not part of the objectives. The methodology is not part of the objectives. Okay, some people write that this thing has never been done before, and this person said this, and this person did this. It's not part of the objectives. Okay, so objectives should be short and precise. Okay, and methodology, description, details, keep them out. Keep them out. Okay, what you want to achieve, that should be there only. Okay. Unless the assessment itself is part of the objective. Okay. For example, we have different techniques to do things. Okay. For example, you are writing an essay. Okay. You can write it yourself, or who can write it for you? You can write the essay yourself, or you can ask who? Yeah, right. It will do it for you, right? So somebody wants to assess the the essays which are written by AI. So assess on the basis of traditional grammar or dictionary or whatever. Okay. So assessment is part of the object. We will assess on the basis of this. Okay. We have a thesis right now. We just saw it a couple of days ago. So the objective was to compare between this standard and this standard. American standard and British standard. So he has to mention the standard. Right? The standard is part of the objective. He is comparing between two things. So those things should be mentioned in the objective, right? Okay. Clear? Okay. If I say testing of the strength of concrete, yes, it's an objective. But if my objective is to test the concrete according to British standard and American standard, so these standards are not part of my objective. Then they should be mentioned. Okay? Clear? Okay. So now you will see many these companies, AI companies. Okay, they do when they invent something, they do assessment of that thing. Okay, and the assessment is done multiple times. Okay, so sometimes the assessment is through another software. Sometimes the assessment is through people. So in the objective, they will write how they will assess, how they are assessing, because assessment is part of the objectives. Okay, the assessment technique is part of the objectives. Okay, so usually objectives are not detailed, the methods are not mentioned, the codes and techniques are not mentioned. But if those techniques are part of your main work, they are your main target, then they should be mentioned. Okay. Okay. And this is something which we call as a smart approach, or the smart method, or whatever you call it. So in this method, we make the objectives or the goals, outcomes, goals, objectives means the same thing. Okay, so they call it a smart goals approach, and they say that your goals or objectives or outcomes should be smart, meaning what? They should fulfill these 5 criteria. Okay, what is this? What are these criteria? They should be specific, clear and specific. Okay, that we want to achieve this. Don't mix too many things, don't confuse the readers. It should point to something very specific. Okay? Clear? Okay. For example, if you say to increase the awareness of the reader. About what? How? It's not mentioned. Okay? So this is not smart, or this is not specific. Okay? But if you say increasing the awareness of users by social media campaigns, becomes more specific, right? Becomes more clear. Okay, it should be measurable, as I said. Give something which, when you reach the end, I know you have achieved or not achieved. Something measurable. Okay? You can measure it using numbers, or you can measure it using people's rating or ranking or whatever. Okay, but it should be something measurable. It should be attainable. something you can achieve at the end. Okay, I already gave you the example that somebody says to remove the traffic congestion in Delhi. You cannot do that, not at all. Okay, and attainable in other sense as well. Like you write something, for example, you know, now whenever they launch something new, they put the title which is very attractive. Okay, so they will say, for example, in Europe in 2018 or something, they started a campaign which is called as Zero Vision. Zero Vision. Zero Vision is what? No traffic accidents. Zero. No, none at all. Okay, so the data says zero. They're not cheap. Their data shows that they did not achieve it. But even before the data shows, you know, zero accidents is not attainable. Okay. Then I saw something which is in UK. It said zero emissions. Transportation with zero emissions. No environmental pollution. Nothing. Zero. Okay. Good for a title, but if you are writing a technical report and somebody comes at the end of the report, he will say, what did you do? Nothing. Okay. So make something which is attainable, realistic. Okay. Verify that the goals are relevant to the client, to yourself, in your area of expertise. Okay, you know what you are doing and so on. Yeah. And there should be make sure you may not write it in the objectives, the time, but when you are setting up the objective, I already mentioned, right? Here. You have to keep this thing in mind. So the objectives may not say that we will do this job in 6 months. Okay? But you should know in your mind that I have 6 months time. So whatever objective I am giving is related to time. Okay? Even if it is not written, you should know that it should be related to time. Clear? Okay? Any questions? Okay, now a 5-minute task, everybody. Copy, pen, whatever, phone, your hand. Take it out. Okay? Think about any assignment, what you have done or what you are doing. Okay? And write 2 or 3 objectives about it. 2 or 3 objectives about any assignment which you have completed or which you are doing right now. For any course, doesn't matter.